what it is.
What's up? We got Joe in the
Person in the
club. Goddamn,
It's
child.
so difficult to start at the same time, which is basically how life works as well.
Which is
No one
essentially
is
how life
starting at the
works.
same time.
It is
How
what
you
it
doing?
is. Child, I am good. I'm good. Had a really great weekend. It's been a good
Same.
time. How are you?
I'm great. Had a great weekend. Very
Yeah.
good time. Very tired though.
Yeah.
Very, very tired. But I'm hoping, I don't know, man. I just feel like as an adult, if you have like a 2-day weekend, it takes you like the whole week to recover. And by the time you feel like you're refreshed, it's already the weekend.
It's already the weekend,
And more
yeah.
often than not, there's more to be done or there's more that happens.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Child. Well,
So
now that we're back,
today,
what are we going to talk about?
What's
We are
up,
talking about
the
Hey.
Tinder Swindler.
the Tinder
Oh, actually,
Swindler.
our lack of understanding of like how loneliness can actually make someone
Yeah.
a part of what you could classify as a vulnerable population.
Yes. Oh, wow. Not the
I,
Hadid
I, I
child.
feel like here I am in Johannesburg. I am in Johannesburg. So,
Yeah.
but basically, I was just like, I watched the Tinder Swindler. And someone actually messaged me and asked, "Are you guys going to discuss this?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." But like,
Yeah.
I feel like we have spoken
Yeah.
about loneliness a lot and the need for companionship, and how people often trivialize it or make it seem like people are superficial for
Yeah.
wanting companionship, or people are silly
Yeah.
for wanting companionship, and reducing the effects of how we have been socialized and also
Yeah.
basic human needs for socialization, to being like, oh, you guys just like men too much.
Yeah.
And it's like, if there was anything to be liked too much in the world, it would definitely, the choice would not be men.
It would not be them. It really wouldn't be
Even
them.
even the conversations around like decenter men, I don't like them. They're like very snarky. Very few of them come from a place that seeks to empower women in
Yeah.
terms of how to decenter men in a healthy way while coexisting with them
Yeah.
in society or within the communities we are creating.
Because
And
guess what? Men aren't going anywhere.
literally,
Sorry.
like I feel like those conversations are very much a gotcha,
Yeah.
and a lot of people have been gotchaing about the Tinder Swindler, talking about this would
Yes.
never happen to me. Like, girl,
Okay, girl.
is that okay? What does that opinion offer to the conversation? Like,
Yeah,
how
it
does that
literally.
empower another woman to be guarded against being scammed? How does that inspire confidence in someone who is currently being scammed?
Yeah.
They're more likely to share their story, especially considering the fact that there are so many Tinder swindlers in our
Exactly.
midst, and people are too embarrassed to say, hey, watch out for this guy.
Yeah.
Because every time these things happen, we make it sound like the lady in question is silly. You know,
Yeah.
like, I don't know, man.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it
But
was a
yeah,
bit. Look, I mean, I can understand watching it and being like, I can't imagine myself in that situation. But maybe you can say, I can't imagine myself in that situation because maybe I've never been in that type of situation. But the moment you're like, oh, they're so stupid, and you know they're silly,
yeah.
and you know, wow, could never be me. It's just like, okay, fine. But maybe think about
feel like-
why.
Exactly.
Like-
We're so self-righteous about scams, dude.
It's so silly,
You can
like-
be vulnerable at any point to
At
a scam.
any point in time.
And then when it then involves emotional manipulation on that scale, considering society's weighting of relationships,
Yeah.
considering society's weighting of what's this desirability, being able
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
find someone who
Yeah.
is desired or seems to be desired by many,
Yeah.
desiring
You
you,
exactly.
like that can create a dynamic that can be very unhealthy quickly. And also,
Yeah.
like, just considering the fact that loneliness makes us so vulnerable. Like, it makes
Incredibly.
us so vulnerable, and it becomes easy for those who want to take advantage of that to go, like, do the most horrid things. Like, okay, cool, maybe it's not on the scale of a private jet, because we're not on, like, as a South African, you're not on that scale. That's
Yeah.
not a thing that's as common, or it's not
Forget about
realistic,
it. Yeah.
but maybe it's on the scale of, this guy's always making you pay for his Ubers, or your
Yeah.
own Ubers going, it's things like that. I don't know, man. I don't know if it's a fair judgment to make, to say this could never happen to me, or I could never be that desperate, because there's also this idea
Because there's
that,
also
like,
just that. Yeah. Like, I
there's
could
this
never be
moral
that
thing
desperate.
tied to being desperate. Like, what do you mean you could never be that desperate? I don't know what that
Like,
means.
honestly, I honestly struggled with that as well. Like, oh, I could never be that desperate. You've been desperate at some point in your life, guys. If you've never been desperate, maybe I don't know. I've experienced desperation. It may not have been in the romantic sense, but I've experienced desperation and the things that go through your head when you're trying to, especially in a situation where, like, you're in a bit of a bind, a bit of a bind. And you're desperate. Like, the things that go through your head, the things that you actually consider is, even if you don't go through with them, but just like your thought process is so warped in when you're in certain situations, that the last thing you're going to think about is like, oh, this is a rational thing to do, this is not a rational thing. You're desperate. You know what I mean?
And
Like,
also, you're, like, very few scammers say, hi, I'd like to, and even those that do, and the people that are victimized by that,
yeah.
there's nothing wrong. But in the case of this, it was like, this person that I care for is in an emergency situation.
Yeah.
I need to help them out. Very
And,
few
and
people, when somebody is saying, I'm in an emergency situation, will center their own protection above the situation that the person is
very few
in. So,
people.
like, when people say, I would never be, I'm always like, okay, yeah, discernment, yeah, red flags, I
Yeah.
get you. But the fact that you believe you would, as a person who is safe
Yeah.
at that moment in time, not instinctively want to help out someone you care for.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that that's how you believe your mind would work says a lot about, like, what you're willing to do for people you care for. I'm not
Exactly.
saying to the extent of, like, yeah, we should all be naive and blah blah
Yeah.
blah, all those other things people will credit to that. But I truly believe that when someone is telling you that, look, I'm in this situation, the last thing on your mind is going to be that they are taking advantage of you because you believe someone you care for is unsafe.
And that was the case with that guy. It's not like, I don't know, I find it very confusing when people are like, it could never be me, but like, you saw in the narrative that this guy was marinating these women. It's not like
Literally.
it was the first conversation and he was like, my enemies are after me, come and help me, love. No, he was marinating these people. Like, he was working on them, building their trust. Building their trust. This guy is showing up. He's all these things. He's calling you, he's texting you. What ends up happening when something like that happens so frequently? You build a what? Attachment. You build trust.
Yes.
You then are like, oh, okay. The last thing you're thinking is, oh, this person is trying to do me dirty. And obviously, like, when they come to you and they're like, oh, I've been injured, like, of course you're gonna, like, react a certain way. Like,
You're
yes,
gonna want to help.
yeah, I mean, yes, it was unwise for some of them to be, like, taking up loans that were way above their means. We can definitely talk about that. How, sometimes we can put ourselves in the line of fire. It's one thing to help someone, right? That's what we all need to do. I think I think sometimes, and I think maybe that's a general sort of thing, when you have a lack of sort of boundaries, sometimes we can have a lack of boundaries where we now go above and beyond what we can do.
Yes,
And
yes, yes.
I think it's okay for us to be able to tell the people who ask us for something that's maybe a little bit above, to say, you know what, I don't think I can do this. I can do this, on the other hand. But even then, like in those situations, that guy was in an emergency, like right now. It's like an urgent thing. I mean, they were even saying that, like, he would be like texting them multiple times, or like he'd call them, like he'd text them with this information, and then like he calls them, and then it's like, oh my god, this is a desperate situation, and like, obviously, they're gonna, like, come on guys, like, I mean, I understand,
I also feel.
but no.
Listening.
No. I was just saying that, like, I understand that, like, you'd be like, oh, in that situation, like, well, I don't have the money. Sure, yeah. That one is a valid one. Like, shit, if someone were to ask me for 25,000 rand, I'd be like, girl, I don't even have 25,000 rand myself. And I, for damn sure, I'm not going to go on that F&B app and apply
And
for
take a loan.
25,000. Whoa, no.
But I think like the fact that like helping out others,
Yeah.
especially in the context of a relationship, helping out a partner or helping out a friend, we are so often scared of like being viewed as someone who is
Yes.
easy to take advantage of, so much so that even the first time you help, you're doing it from a place of shame already.
Yes.
Misha mustn't find out that I helped Luando
Yeah.
in this way.
Yeah.
That then makes it so easy for Luando to take advantage of me going forward, because it's a secret and shameful act from the beginning. So it's like, even the way that we have been conditioned when it comes to helping out others is so laced with shame that it becomes easy for people who want to take advantage to actually take advantage of you. Because if we're being 100% honest, helping others is such like, it feels like such a shameful act. When you consider the fact that there's this perception that we should always be guarded against being taken advantage of. I think the easiest example would be like helping out certain family members. You will keep it a secret from your mom or your gran that like you're helping certain people out, because you know that they're going to be upset, or they're gonna like reprimand those people to not take advantage of you, but you feel like you're doing it from a place of being empowered and something you want to do, and all of that. And then that's what makes it very easy for that person who is a swindler to then come in and take advantage of that, because then throughout the process, you truly believe that you have the same agency you had when you first started. It's wild.
It really is wild. Like, I definitely do think, I mean, I've noticed, on the socials and just like in general, when people talk about relationships, particularly when relationships end, right? And just kind of the shame around having helped your partner, like, oh, I even did this. Why did I do it? Because you wanted to help them. The fuck? Like,
literally. And also, like, you wanted to make your partner happier.
You wanted to make your partner happy.
Make their life easier. Like, that's but like very big parts of companionship, right? We're supposed to be making each other's lives easier. And that's why when we're looking for companions, we are looking for people that can make our lives easier. And we as well would make their lives easier, which makes it very easy for that financial blurriness to occur. And like different people in different places in their lives will have different scales. Like for us, 25,000 rand is a lot of money. But for people that are earning a lot of money, 25,000 rand is the 500 rand. We feel like if Misha found out I gave this boy 500 rand, she'd be like, what the hell is wrong with you, friend? Do you get me? Like, we need to factor in those things as well. But at the end of the day, like, as I was saying, for me, after watching that, I just started thinking about how like we do not recognize and acknowledge how harmful being lonely can be in today's society. And how actually, I don't think there's anything wrong with feeling lonely.
No.
I think everything else attached to that feeling,
that shame,
the inability.
That shame and that guilt for feeling lonely is just so
yes.
I mean,
the inability to express it freely. Like, you can't say that you are feeling lonely without people infantilizing you, without people like having too much pity for you, or without people reducing the emotion and being like, oh, but you have so and so and this and
but you
this
live with
and
other people.
literally, like, so I think it's our lack of understanding of loneliness that always leads us to these places, and it can make us so cruel most times.
And nothing good comes from shame. Like, let's be honest,
bro.
nothing good comes from shame, especially when it's such a common thing. Like, there's nothing special about feeling lonely or loneliness. Like, it's not a special thing. It's a very normal thing that people experience
It's not unique.
every single day. It's not unique. Like, it really isn't. We all feel lonely. My goodness, the dogs. We all feel
That's
lonely.
normal.
Oh my word.
I had birds,
See, that's
you have
normal.
dogs.
Yeah, you know what? My neighbor's dogs are doing too damn much. But it's such a normal thing. Like, I think as soon as I sort of demystified that, like, that thing around being lonely and like feeling loneliness, like, it felt a lot easier for me to experience it. Oh my God. Hopefully it's not like distracting you guys, sorry. But I mean, it felt, experiencing loneliness was a lot more easier. And because then I was like, who's gonna hold it against me? You know what I mean? Because I've already owned it. And I'm not owning it from a place of shame. In fact, if it's from a place of shame, you're not owning it. As a matter of fact, I mean, I think that's.
But also, like, dealing with pain is very different when it's not like a pain I am hiding.
Exactly.
Like, it's not a pain I am ashamed of. It's something that happens to many people because of many different reasons that are often like tied to a lot that has nothing to do with us individually, but affects us individually. And I think once you like strip that I'm not actually responsible for this. Like, this is not my doing. I am not feeling lonely because of my doing all the time. Sometimes we do because of our own doing, but like, there's no moral like thing tied to me being lonely. Like, I'm not lonely because I'm a bad person. I'm not lonely because I did something to create the world receiving me the way that it does. I am experiencing all of this because of the way the world is shaped and all of that. And I think it makes it easier, not easier, it's still very hard, it's still very painful, but it makes it, you find a way to navigate, you find a way to get through it. Because right now, more Simon, they will continue to exist for as long as we keep overlooking like our own personal experiences of loneliness to grandstand when other people have been taken advantage of.
Exactly.
I think that's what we do.
No, it's definitely grandstanding. It's definitely grandstanding. I mean, I remember the one incident when we talk about loneliness, especially romantic loneliness, and just how just the level of desperation that comes with that. I mean, I remember the one situation that happened on the timeline where this person got together. We spoke about this, where this person got together with someone who was, known to be a predator or whatever. And obviously they weren't right, but I think, and I'm glad I had that conversation with like my friends and all of that, but we spoke about how, it wouldn't have made it better, right? I'm not saying that, but I think it would have been so much more, for me in any case, I would have understood where she came from better had she said, you know what, I was actually very, very lonely and I was willing to do anything to be with this person or to have a companion, and then we take it from there. When we're able to really own that, like to really, really own your loneliness and say, you know what, this is at the point of my life where I'm at, and there are a lot of things that we do from a place of loneliness, right? Like a lot of things that we do from that, where we're like, you know what, I'd much rather do this than be lonely.
Guys, the fact that people are willing to like risk their reputation risk all of the work that they've put in and their contribution to society. Because until then, that person had a very positive contribution
100%.
to the community that they built online, right?
Yeah.
Like the fact that I would be willing to risk all of that, then admit that I was lonely, says a lot about how pathetic we feel when we express how lonely we are. Like, or how pathetic society has made it seem to express that you are actually lonely and would like a companion, oftentimes at whatever cost, because the cost is subjective, right?
And we really should take it so
That's scary to
seriously.
me.
It's scary. We should take it way more seriously than we do. That when we realize
this is
that
why people ignore.
exactly, like when we realize that people are actually willing to do anything, they're willing to sacrifice their reputations, even their own lives. That people are even willing to put themselves in such hectic debt for this. It should say a lot. You know, it should say a lot about how we need to demystify loneliness. I think at the heart of it all is really just, we need to just take it to the core and say, you know what, this is maybe what these people felt. Why is it so shameful? What can we do to make it less shameful? And then we'll take it from there. Then we can go to the point where we're like, my friend, even if this person loves you so much and they say they love you and all of that, and they say they'll pay you back, if you cannot take out a 20,000 Rand loan, do not do it. Don't do it. If you don't have the means and you are not ready to let go of that money, don't do it. Obviously, it's a different situation when you are in the clutches of manipulation, right? Like, we all understand how these things work, you know, manipulation and you know, abuse
being
and all of these things.
For
being
a specific
groomed.
type of abuse,
Because that's exactly what those people were being groomed for.
They were groomed.
Unfortunately, like when it's nice to look at it from a surface level and be like, oh my God, like, oh, this girl, she was so whipped, or she was stigmatized.
She was excited by the
Or she was
jets.
excited by the no, like these people were groomed. Obviously, some a shorter time than others. But I mean, when you think about how he had that other relationship with the other person, like for 14 months or whatever, and all this time, like she was like, we were going well, we were doing this, we were doing that. Like, do you really think at any point in time she was going to be like, nah, he's a scam or whatever? Like, come on, guys. You know, when he's just set up this whole thing so well. There's nobody that, you know, she could go and say, oh, you know, who is this person or whatever. And it doesn't help that also we are very, we compartmentalize, and two, they you know, we're very, like, we attach a lot of shame to certain things, or to being in companionship. Not even shame, but like we're just so like secretive, which okay, fine, whatever. But now, unfortunately, because you're not putting it out there, there's no one who's gonna go. Like I was watching this video by the B Word, and they were saying, you know, like when do your friends get to meet your partner and whatever. And someone was like, they were like, from the beginning. So I can say, oh, this is the murderer that my friend was talking about. Things like that. I mean, on a very like, you know, micro scale, obviously, because, you know, if we're talking about, let's say like in Joburg, there is someone out there somewhere who knows this person.
Who knows this person,
or know something about this person.
It's not safe to keep them a secret.
Exactly.
But then like, you know, even things like that, where it's like you're getting into a relationship and you are then willing to compromise your safety to prolong this relationship. That should no reasonable human being is going to do that just for just. That should tell us how much is wrong with how we have been conditioned to understand relationships, and how like we have been conditioned to perceive them to be very different to friendships. Like, it's very rare that you separate your friendship groups on that level. You know, where you would compromise your safety and all of that. So I think as much as there's multiple conversations going on, we really need to just look at what is it about this specific kind of relationship that is constantly telling us to go against every single thing that we know to be right. And why is it that we have been taught that it is okay to do all those wrong things?
To do all those things, exactly.
to prolong, to keep this thing alive. Who does
Yeah.
that serve?
Yes,
Like, who
exactly.
does that serve? You
Yes. Oh
know,
my God. Yeah.
because there is one specific type or group that is
Yeah.
constantly benefiting from that, and there's one specific type or group that is constantly getting their lives destroyed.
Yeah.
So we need to look at that, and
Yeah.
I think
Like remove the
once
snark,
many of us
dog.
are on the same page,
Yeah.
it's the snarky. The snarkiness doesn't aid anyone.
Because that's
It
my
does
problem.
not aid
Like that's
anyone.
my problem. I mean, we can talk about like in instances where like women, yeah, like are willing to lay down the lives of other people, other sort of vulnerable people, for that. But even then, it's still
Their
a matter of
children, their families.
what about why is it that
Is
that,
it
like you were
that this
saying?
will make them do this? Yeah.
Yes. And it's unfortunately like if you want to have, constructive conversation, look, I love snark more than anybody else. But if we really want to have a constructive conversation where now we want to be able to transcend certain sort of things and certain mishaps and whatever, we unfortunately have to remove the snark, because guess what,
Literally.
most people don't respond well to that. That's a matter of fact. That is a matter of fact. Most people do. They shut down immediately. And I mean, you cannot then, because then it shocks me when it's people who are like, no, I am here to serve the people. I am here to liberate women. They've made that their sort of mission, and then they're just like snarky the whole way. My friend, sit down. Because clearly this is a conversation you need to be having with your friends who are on the same page, and you can all laugh about it and it will be nice. But you are not contributing anything to the conversation by being snarky and whatnot. I know it's difficult. Listen, I find most people annoying when they do like, things that, I've gone to the point where I realize, what, this is actually, it doesn't make sense. But even then, I know that I am not exempt. At any point in my life, I could be the victim of that type of grooming and that type of abuse, because that's just how abuse works. Like,
And also, it's like, okay, how long have we been having these conversations for us to actually not have as many constructive tools that protect us from these levels of abuse? Like, why are they progressing faster than us?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
what is it that we are not doing correctly, that these abusers seem to have figured out to the point where they are constantly like innovating in terms of how they deliver their abuse? Because I feel like it cannot be that this Simon guy is using the same like toolkit that people are using everywhere in the world, the same toolkit that Yahoo boys are using. Like, why is there an entire industry
Yeah.
that is just dedicated to scamming like older women? Like, that exists. That's a thing,
Honestly.
and it says a lot. It says a lot about
It does.
how, and I feel like I've been speaking about this frustration for a very long time, but it says a lot about how stuck we are.
Yes.
Like, I just feel
And I think-
so stuck.
Yeah. A lot
I
of
feel like
times
there's very little. Yeah.
I've noticed that a lot of times on the socials people have been talking about like political regression. And absolutely,
That's where I am.
political regression is very much real. But sometimes we need to go, and it's a bit of a tall order, right? But we need to sort of sit and look. Okay, why? And it's like because people feel stuck, because now all we have is problem, but there's no like, okay, what is the way forward? And even the way forward that are being suggested are so deeply unrealistic. What do you think people are gonna do? They're gonna what? Regress. Unfortunately, that is a matter of
I feel
fact.
like
Y'all can fight me on that
very
one.
stuck. Yeah, because that frustration, and also you don't want to feel that like responsibility of, there was a point where I was learning so much and applying so much, and now all of a sudden feels like I can't remember the last time I learned something new.
Yeah.
like that felt like it could protect me as a woman, or that felt like it could make navigating this world easier as a woman. It's the resources like are far, and it feels like you've gone through almost every resource, because we're not even sharing resources
Not
that
at all
much
these
anymore.
days. Yeah, not at all.
In the same, and
No
as
more
much
theory.
as we can have this, we can have this. There's absolutely no theory. Like we can have the same conversation 5 times, and I can pick up something new every single time. But now I've gotten to a point where it's like, am I picking up something new, or is it just like new vocabulary for the same thing?
And then even then, as
Like,
these conversations are going, you're not gonna pick up anything new. What ends up happening is that you're actually just like, oh, I'm tired of this conversation because I know it's not gonna get anywhere, and people are just gonna tussle and tussle, have a tussle of words, which is not a good place to be. And we need to be realistic about that, guys. Like it's not good. It's not realistic. We can go on and on about political regression, and I absolutely agree. The girls are regressing. It's bad.
I am the gal. I am not sipping the wines, but I am the gal. But
like,
also, I think, like looking at it from the perspective of what do we then do about that? Like, do we go back to sharing the theory? Do we go back to, I don't know, like, do we go back to, okay, this really worked the first time that I was learning all of these things. But there's also the factor of age, right? So it's like, I am internalizing things much differently, but it is the same things over and over again. So I don't know if maybe that's it. Like if maybe it's about a reintroduction to the same things over and over again, but you're at a different age and you're taking them differently, because maybe that's why things feel like we're regressing right now, or it feels like the conversations aren't moving to a point where we can get a level of protection. I don't know. But going back to like our initial topic, like just in terms of closing, I don't know, like I think one of the most important things that needs to happen is like we need to stop, like bring back Kinkloni. It needs to apply to certain things only. Like, we need to stop shaming people for sharing things, because it's in that shaming that people remain silent, and those who are harming others in secret continue to thrive.
And people are watching. That's my thing. They're watching. They're watching. These predators are watching. They're like, So
that needs to end. Like we need to try. I don't know. Like I can't even say keep it in the WhatsApp groups, because even in the WhatsApp groups, I could.
There is someone that, exactly. There could be someone over there.
I could be.
Yeah, we need to get to a point where I don't know. I'm also just I'm not stuck per se. I mean, I absolutely agree that we need to, in order to demystify these things, we unfortunately have to just get out of our high horse. Get off that damn high horse. Get off the high horse.
High horse.
We have to normalize certain things. It's a false, exactly.
It's a false high horse, because I need to then distance myself from the idea that I could ever be scammed, because there's a high chance that I'm feeling very vulnerable about something that's happened in my life. So I need people to be like, no, man, that doesn't make sense. It would never happen to so-and-so. Like we're constantly hiding. Like we're doing too much hiding. We're even hiding in other people's stories without anyone actually looking at us. Like people were watching Netflix. No one was looking at any of us, but we felt the need to be like, not me, not ever. Like, why do you want to hide in some Polish or whatever woman's story?
Exactly. And even then, like, it's like, at what point are you sitting down and looking at your life and drawing parallels? Because that's another thing that's wrong with us.
Literally,
is that we see certain things happening and we're there like, oh no, this person, whatever. Meanwhile, if you were to really look, you can draw parallels with your own life. It may not be the exact same thing, but it could be a sort of similar situation. It may not be in a relationship, but it could be family. Just because it's family doesn't make it right, is what things like that. Just because it's your family member. Because that's another thing. I think you'll find there's some people who are like, oh, could never be me. I could never be scammed by somebody that I love. But you also love your family and they scammed you. So now what?
Literally.
You know what I mean? They built up the trust. Obviously, yeah, it's over. You had no choice in the matter. You're blood and whatnot. But still, you still have to be discerning, isn't it? In your family matters as
According to
well.
you,
According to you. Exactly.
according to you, yeah,
So it's just, it's also those things like that where it's like we're just completely unable to draw parallels, even in situations that to us feel like it's just completely far off. And it's like, it's not far off though. It's very much right here. It may not be at that scale, but it's something. I mean, I can't come here and be like, I could never be scammed by some person who's making extra. I've been scammed before, shit, you know?
First of all, you don't know when you're being scammed.
You don't
You could
know.
be getting scammed right now. You don't know.
Exactly. You could be exactly listening to us right now. You could be getting scammed. You don't know. You just out here. I enjoy these
We
bitches.
could be getting scammed.
Exactly.
We could be scamming you, but I could also be getting scammed in my own private life. Like, we don't know.
Exactly. Precisely that. And I think, you know, we need to be a lot more open about these things. I think for me, like my first, or the solution that I think is the most, can I say, has the most longevity, or, you know, over time, obviously won't be like a quick thing. We need to learn to be a lot more open about certain things. I mean, I was speaking to Bokang the other day, and I was like, you know, there's certain things that became so normal to me because other people were speaking about them, where previously they weren't. They were not normal. In fact, I was just sitting there stewing in my shame. And then as soon as other people started talking about them, I was like, oh, so this is like, no, so I'm not special? Oh, okay, cool.
It's not like there's this dark cloud above me, like,
Yeah.
you know, not like I have been specifically selected to go through
Yeah.
this doom.
And I think
That does a lot.
And I think sometimes even without them sharing the solution, just them talking about these things kind of spins your head. It takes your head in a place where you're like, okay, so this is normal. And then you can kind of go into solution mode. You can never be in solution mode when you are hiding and when there is shame. You will never solve that problem. Listen, whoever told you you can is a lying ass bitch. There is no solving anything from a place of shame. There is not, because it's gonna, that solution is coming from a place of shame, which is not gonna be a good thing. Then there's more shame, and the shame is compounding one another, and there's just more shame. And it's just like, it's not going to be helpful. So the moment we are open about certain things, you are even freer. You know, you're feeling less burdened. You're feeling less tightly wound up. You actually have the mental capacity, even the physical capacity to actually go, okay, what now? It won't happen immediately, obviously. It won't be like an immediate thing. But, it will spur that thinking. It will spur that thing of like, okay, this has happened to a lot of people, and it's wrong, right? We've established that it is wrong. And now what? Like, now you'll start realizing, okay, maybe the issue was that, this person came to me and they asked me to take out an unreasonable loan, or a loan I could not afford. So what now? Okay, at the heart of that was maybe the fact that I didn't have a sense of boundaries. I didn't know how to say no. Then you deal with not being able to say no. And then guess what? The next time someone asks you for something you cannot do, guess what? Maybe you'll be able to say, no, I actually cannot do this. Maybe let me direct you into this direction, or this is what I can do for you. And that's that, So, and it's a process, because these things,
yeah. No, you can go. Sorry.
Because these things are compounded by so many other things. Like, it's not just like this person was just easily scammable. Why were they easily scammable? Lack of boundaries. They can't say, whatever. They're like this. They're like that. They're experiencing this and that. And unfortunately, like, it's hard to deal with, to have to face those things that then result in the bigger issue of being scammed or easily scammed when we're being shameful about it. When you're hiding, you're not gonna uncover the fact that you have abandonment issues, or you won't connect it to abandonment issues. You won't connect it to a lack of boundaries. You won't connect it to whatever. And And then obviously then you aren't able to deal with those things individually, which then lead you eventually at some point being able to conquer that part where it's like, okay, these are the 4 or 5 things that result in this big issue. And once I've dealt with these things bit by bit over years, over months, whatever it is, then I'll be less susceptible. Not that you will never be scammed. It's that I will not be scammed as much, or I won't be easily scammed, or I won't easily fall for it. It won't be as severe, maybe.
It will not
maybe
be as easy for this person to take advantage of me.
Exactly.
Yes.
Or even if it does happen, I will be able to pick it up rather quickly, or quicker than usual, because there are certain things that I can say that have happened at a larger scale. And then I realize, okay, this is maybe the reason why, and I dealt with that. And the next time it happened again, but I almost was immediately able to go, this is the thing that's happening. And then you're able to sort of, even if it's been happening for a little bit, then you're able to immediately cut it off. And then the next time you'll be able to nip it in the bud. And the next time, it really is a situational thing. And I think we need to be a lot more like, not lenient, but a lot more like understanding. Kind, yeah.
Yeah, understanding. Like have some compassion. But I also think like for me, there's a level of like, we don't understand, like, or I say my understanding of the situation is that it's very difficult to know how to bring value to a relationship, right? It's not a conversation we have. Like, I've never said to you, Micho, how do you think I can bring value to our friendship?
Yeah.
So that I ensure that I'm actually, like, this is a reciprocal relationship.
Yeah.
Very few people, I don't know, I've never heard of anyone having that conversation.
Yeah.
And because we don't have that conversation, if somebody is love bombing you, you're going to go to great lengths to feel like you're bringing some level of value to a relationship. Like, we all want to feel like we're giving as much as we're getting.
Yeah.
And that's where things like can go south. And I don't understand how we can be judgmental or place a level of blame on someone for wanting to give as much as they've gotten from a situation, which I believe is what was happening with a lot of those ladies. They felt like, oh, I'm actually, like, this is what being reciprocal means. So even like,
and actually, you're right.
Have those conversations. We don't have that conversation of what is bringing value to you. Like, do you feel like you are getting less than you are giving? Like, we run away. As I was saying, we're hiding from so much.
Oh my God,
because I don't know if we fear like what's on the other side of those conversations, or if we fear having to apply
those things,
what we get, or the effort. But at the same time, I feel like we're putting in a lot of effort, but it's misdirected.
It's misdirected.
It has no direction, like, and so it has no impact. It's not as impactful as it could be. And I don't know, I'm still not brave enough.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think I'm gonna try it out tonight. The next episode, I'm gonna let you guys know how it worked. I'm gonna try it out with someone. And because I actually think you're right, I've actually never had that conversation.
I've never had that conversation.
Yeah, where I'm like, actually, what does it look like to you for someone to reciprocate, whatever it is that you are,
your efforts, or what you feel like you're putting in.
Because I'm gonna have that conversation, child, just to see what it looks like.
I think we should end there.
We should end there. But then also, I think maybe one of these days we should do that on here, actually. We should actually do that.
That's a very tough conversation.
That's a very over time.
I'm so scared of conversations where, like, because you feel like you always have this fear in the back of your mind that I'm not doing enough.
Yes.
And then, so you're scared to hear the other person actually say that you're not doing enough. But you might find out that, no, you're okay. I would like a bit more of this or a bit more of this, but you're okay. But we just have this idea where like, oh, it's supposed to be instinctive. Like a friend should know what another friend needs, or a friend should match what the friend is doing. But it's like, what if what you're doing for me is something you've identified as a need for me, but it's not necessarily a need for you, you know? But yeah, that's another conversation.
Another conversation. But when we're brave enough, I think we'll definitely do it on here. But I actually encourage you guys to do that. I'm gonna do it as well. I will report back on the next episode if I do remember, or I'll put it on my socials somewhere once the episode is out, once I've done it, to be like, okay, I practiced this thing that we spoke about, and this is the result. Because I mean, even in like long standing relationships, it's hard, because also like you've been together for a long time, so it's like I get this person, and then when you like have the conversation, and then you have the conversation with them, you're like, oh shit, I've been assuming for a very fucking long time, so yeah, that's actually I'm feeling very challenged. But yeah, guys, let us know what you thought about the Tinder Swindler. What else?
No snarkiness. We're not interested in any snarky comments. None of them are ever new. Everybody's heard that before.
We've all said it could never be you. Shut the fuck up, dog. Like,
doesn't contribute to the conversation
at all.
There's no need.
There's no need. Write it down in your journal, child. Don't put it out there. We don't want to see that shit. So let us know what you thought. Let us know where you're at. Like, how are you guys doing? It's been a minute, but we are back for real. Yeah, how's your new year doing so far? I'm fighting all sorts of fires. I'm fighting for my life, but it's a better year than last year already. So what? It's fine. And like we said in the last episode, there are lots of like really exciting things coming up. Just lovely things. We've got a new host coming up. We're not gonna go further into that. You guys have seen, we posted, but we've got a new host coming up. We're very excited about them. And yeah, just a lot of really lovely, beautiful things that are happening in life. And you know what? We're gonna hold on to that, because life is hard as is.
Exactly. All the joys.
Oh my God, I'm trying to hold on to all the joys, child. The littlest joy, whether it's fresh air or beach water, whatever the fuck it is.
All the joys. The small, the big, the middle.
All of. But yeah, guys, thank you so much. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.